you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Welcome everyone to V to Pre-Transitions, the show where we show you how to take a V Premium deck in Vanguard and change it to Premium with minimal changes. I'm Atlas, and here with me is Matt from Nexus at Night.
You might know me. Who knows?
You might know. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. Just been here and there.
Yeah. So today we're doing Tachikaze because it's a clan you play.
Yeah, I like Tachikaze.
Yeah, and it's a clan I play too. So this was pretty easy to kind of figure out between us. Like for other clans I don't play, I usually have to hit the guy up and be like, "Will you make a list, please? I don't know how it works."
It also helps as like Tachikaze's V support was pretty good.
Yeah.
So like,
that's true.
It doesn't take a lot to transition from V to Premium in Tachikaze, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
There'll be a few things that obviously change, but like the grade 3s just kind of do a lot of the work for you.
That's true. I think a lot of the like tinkering comes especially in the grade 2s. I think that tends to happen in rearguard focused decks the most, but like for Tachikaze especially, you can play weird numbers and like you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have a lot of cards that dig really deep too, like that you don't have in V. So and like you just see a ton of cards in Tachikaze in Premium.
That's true with all the equip gauging and stuff like that. So
it's just like having a billion drive checks.
That too. So getting into the list here. So for V, we did a Spino Driver and Spino Driver Reverse deck. The newly released Spino Driver Reverse. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, and there's a ton of directions this deck can look like. Like the Spino Reverse could be Gaia, but it's mostly the same. Like this is just a pretty common list here.
Yeah, like in real life, I run Gigano Blazer Gaia mostly because I have a playset of everything, and I don't want to switch my Spino Driver back and forth. But for your guys' benefit, we're doing this just because Spino Driver, the regular one, is the best grade 3 the clan has, I think, overall.
Yes.
Yeah. A and B, we have this new toy to play with, and C, it's just good. It gets you draws, it gets you a new Excel circle. I think in terms of actual like staples, the deck has that almost never leave. You have Savage Shooter,
this card cannot go under 4.
Cannot go under 4.
If you think about putting this card to 3, just do not. Especially in Premium, seeing this card like on your ride is so important.
Yeah, so getting the extra draw, which mitigates your ride minus, and then calling something. A lot of decks will run Savage Mercenary because if you get it off the draw or just have it in your opening hand, you now have a 27k beater that's probably not going anywhere. For most of the game, unless your opponent can blow it up.
Yeah, and sometimes like you're going second, you ride this on grade 1, call Savage Merc with a gauge from itself or from Shooter, and then you're just like, all right, I'm gonna attack you now a lot. Like it's just a big card. Yeah. The fact that this gauges too is also nuts. Like, the gauge is the thing you call.
Yeah, and like it makes it seem like a bad thing, where like you have to put a gauge on it, and you're like, okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it never matters.
Yeah. And then do you want to talk a little bit about Megarex?
Yeah, so Megarex is an insane card. Like it seems kind of innocuous because like you're like, oh well, what if I don't want to counterblast one? But like you almost never do, actually. You'll end up using it just to like set up Blue Sprint sacks and Papacephalo sacks. So like those cards can call additional cards when they die. So Megarex is kind of like your easiest enabler to those cards, and you draw a card while doing it.
Because it's not tied to the counterblast, the retire. It's
it's retire unit, draw a card, and then you can counterblast for more power.
Yeah.
But like, whatever.
Yeah, and then especially in the V version, there's not really countercharging most of the time, which is also why that facilitates Pulkin Spine.
I don't typically play that card, mostly because I just don't expect the game to go on that long. So it's kind of I'm a little more risky with it.
Right. And then in terms of like Regiodon and Blue Sprint, they're both here for obvious reasons.
Regiodon, sorry, that was his name. I forgot.
It's okay. Pachycephalo, I can't remember what the card did. I want to say...
I just remember the dinosaur Pachycephalo.
Yeah. I remember it from Yu-Gi-Oh!, the one that blows up all the special summons.
Yeah, so Spino Extort's a pretty good card. It's a little awkward with the Blue Sprint and... sorry, Regiodon.
Yeah.
Because if you only have one gauge, you're really like picking which effect you want to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you're resolving Spino Extort's effect in that case, but you wouldn't get like their own effect because they only have one gauge.
Right,
so you got to make sure it's just to shove a second gauge on there.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, it ends up being a column because, like, if you're just calling the Regiodon or Blue Sprint main phase and you have Savage Shooter behind Vanguard, like, make sure to do Shooter first to put the gauge on it because it only works on empty things. Then attack with it and get the second one. Then it is pretty nice when you end up with like a Spino driver like on an Excel circle with a gauge on it from like I don't know any of your cards basically. Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, I'm gonna eat it with Spino Extort and call something else.
Yeah, and then Dilomorpho helps facilitate that too. A is something to draw a call summon, give it a gauge, and then B, if it gets called from a gauge by this or Regiodon or Blue Sprint, it gets 10k. So.
Yeah. And you can shove it underneath a unit with Savage Shooter as well if you draw Savage Shooter later.
Yeah.
Because Savage Shooter can like rest, I think, to gauge from drop. I think it's just rest.
Yeah, rest gauge something from drop that doesn't have anything.
Right.
Doesn't have any gauge. And then lastly, so this thing, I don't really see that second ability being used like ever.
It's the first ability is just really a lot, basically.
Yeah. So if you go first, I have had games where like I've drawn both at the same time, this and Spino Driver, and been behind. Right. You go into this first just to get the Excel 2, draw one, then his effect, draw one, call something, and then you can put a gauge on it. Like it helps like swing the momentum back in your favor. And then if you happen to have regular Spino Driver install, you do that 3 times, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty common just to end up with a billion Excel gifts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've like 3 Excel gifts on your second ride, and you've drawn like 6 cards, and you're like, all right,
this is happening. That second effect to like lock things with equip gauge, which by the way makes you lose the equip gauge. It doesn't like stay under there.
Right.
And then give them the red text if you get a front trigger all your front rows with Ancient Dragon, which is really just him and Spino Driver, and the rest are not Ancient Dragons.
That's true. You can play a couple Ancient Dragons if you're in the mood, like Dino Crowd, or there's a few others.
Yeah,
like Wanagorg, I think is another popular option.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, the V Tachikaze is very front trigger reliant. You're pretty reliant on making sure on hitting front triggers at a convenient time.
Yes.
And you probably felt games basically be decided over whether that front happened or not.
Yeah.
Also, you have only 5 fronts in here.
I did the 5-4-3
I see.
thing, mostly just to keep people honest. I think you can also cut it down to like 1 regular crit, the Sentinel crit, and then the rest be fronts. So you have
the 1 Sentinel crit and 8 fronts is very funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
But I play at least 8 fronts in here. I know
Okay.
some people play like anywhere from 4 to 8.
Yeah, it's definitely one of these decks where like change the trigger lineup based on how your grade 2s behave, and then that's pretty much gravy. So why don't we get into the premium list here?
Yeah, what's convenient about it being very the V version being very front reliant is that you're exactly not that in premium. So you get to completely skip over that discussion.
You're exactly not that in premium?
Yeah. Because like you just don't. It's just not important. So as you can see, the biggest kind of thing you see first is that Spino Extort is gone.
Yes.
Spino Extort is the weakest of your grade 2s. So it gets replaced with cards that just let you do things that you couldn't otherwise do.
Yes.
In this case, the big cards are that pterodactyl card you see down there.
That would be Raven Terra.
Yeah, Raven Terra, which when it's eaten by the Engorge ability, you can Soul Blast 1, call it back, and then if you have one or less face-up cards, you can countercharge 1. Pretty rare countercharge engine in Tachikaze. Not only does it countercharge, but it also puts a unit on field, which is a kind of a doubly huge thing.
It should be noted that this says retired by something with the effect of the Engorge ability. So, like, a lot of Vanguard, a lot of the, strides have the Engorge ability, and then when it becomes Engorged, do X, Y, and Z. So you can go attack, eat Raven Terror for Engorge, Raven Terror's ability, call it back, and then if it's got another thing that's like, put X number of things into drop zone, foreshadowing, you can kill Raven Terror again, and it can call itself back again if you have the soul.
Yeah, there's like a gap between the check timing of when you first act to Engorge versus like the when it becomes Engorged, so you can activate effects in any order there.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. This ain't Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not like resolve in reverse order or anything.
Yeah, the next card I believe that's different is Baby Camera. Or was that no? That's not Baby Camera. That's
Little Tyranna.
Sorry, I get all these little baby dragons confused.
The names kind of run into each other. It's like the TV show You, where it's like that could be anybody.
This card is, I think, I always play this card at least 2. When it's retired by the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability. So this one can be retired for basically any reason. You get to look at top 4 and call 2.
Yeah. And then put the rest on bottom. He goes into Soul also, which is a big deal. Because like now with Raven Terra, one of the strides that's going to come up in a moment here, Soul is something you now kind of have to worry about in Tachikaze. Savage Shooter also give Soul Blasts on the first turn if you ride it, so you're kind of behind in that sense. Dylom, like the whole grade 2 lineup of Regiodon, Megarex, and Dylomorpho is this kind of like rogues gallery of the perfect early game.
Yeah, they just all do things without you really asking much of you.
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Great. The rest of the grade 1 lineup stays the same. Your grade 3 lineup stays the same. In terms of triggers, once again the over trigger shows up. Bushra, can't kill the thing, please. We're using the Dragon Empire one because even though one of the strides restands before it starts attacking, that is infinitesimally rare that you will get this over trigger on the first stride check.
With that being said, the Crate over trigger is still quite nice.
Yes, definitely.
It is still incredibly good. So I think the difference between the Dragon Empire and the Crate over trigger is very negligible.
Yeah.
Just like if you have the Dragon Empire one, if you want to play the Dragon Empire one, play the Dragon Empire one. If you want to play the Crate one, play the Crate one. They're both nuts.
Yeah, like it's not even if you can't afford it. Like literally, they are both equally valid as cards.
Yeah, I've seen both, and I never wince at either one. I'm always like, yep, there's an over trigger.
Yeah. And then the last, like aside from the Soul crit, which is mostly just we needed another crit, right? The Stride Fodder crit, which is a 4 of in literally every premium deck, no matter what the clan is. Your again Sentinel crit, but this is the last thing that
the fish
is different. Yes, Cola Magnum, Sela Magnum, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Sela Magnum. It seems I have historically disliked this card. I've kind of been slowly coming around on it. But basically, when you retire it during your turn, you can give 5k, draw a card, and shuffle it back. This card, in the right circumstances, if you have 3 of them, so this deck's playing 2, but you can easily add a 3rd or 4th. If you have 3 of them, crit. Yeah, drop the Soul crit, drop whatever. But like basically, you can put yourself in a position where you can like loop this if you have like almost no cards in deck.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. So you can basically just give everything unboundable amounts of power. You can't say infinite because Vanguard loops, lol. But it's pretty funny. If that's something you're interested in, you can up it to 3 or even 4. It's pretty easy to play 4 of this card. I don't remember what the cut is. Oh yeah. One card that we don't have in this list that you could play is there's a PG with the Engorge ability.
Yes.
I
forgot don't remember his name.
I forgot also. But basically, when it's a grade 1 PG, that you can, when you attack with it, it can engorge. And then at the end of battle, you can counterblast one and return it to hand. Yes. The reason you might play a Engorge PG, the reason is twofold, is to play an extra trigger, number one, and number two is to basically have a unit that you can call that ends up bouncing back to hand as a PG. And there are Tachi cards that search out grade 1s as well. So there's a lot of weird stuff you can do there. But as far as like a base list, it's not the most important thing.
There's the original way to do that was there was a grade 0 called Baby Camera, which was when it died, counterblast, search deck for grade 1, call it, give it 3k.
Mm-hmm. That was the card I was thinking about earlier, in my opinion.
Yeah. So that was the way to do it, but you can search it off Little Tyranno or put it under Ratio Dawn, call it, etc.
If you want to be a real jerk, and you have a lot of extra dollars laying around, you can get Baby Camera on Honolulu.
Yeah.
If you want to be a real jerk, it's pretty funny.
I know in Overdress, Dragon Empire is getting a card that like shuts off continuous effects. So I don't know if there's going to be enough just any Dragon Empire clan is going to start teching that in just to turn off Honolulu.
That'd be funny.
That would be, to be like the thing that kills it. So, and then now for the G Zone, which again exists compared to not existing in V.
Yeah.
So this is your main dude.
Yeah, this card you need at least 3 of.
Yeah. So he's got Engorged, and then when he becomes Engorged, so again, they're 2 separate abilities. You can Engorge, do all your rearguards that when they die do stuff, then do the second effect, which is cool. So when he becomes Engorged, you can choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards, kill them, fine, and then you can put 5 gauge or rearguards, so you can do like 2 and 3.
Any combination.
Yeah, any combination, and then restand him. And that happens before the battle ends.
Yep.
Before your drive check. So, like, at the end, your Vanguard should look like this before you start attacking, not like this. Or drive check.
Yeah. Also, note that it doesn't lose any drive checks whatsoever.
So, this is 6 drive checks that's happening.
Yep. And you've probably called new things because of how Tachikaze works. So, you retire a bunch of stuff, probably like Regiodons and Blue Sprints and what have you, and then they all call themselves back, and then Neburos gets to attack twice.
Yeah. And then hijinks ensue when they're dead, so that's cool.
Yep.
He's also got a G-Zone ability that can like put a gauge on a rearguard during the main phase, and also make it engorged, even if it doesn't have the engorged ability. It's like you are now engorged.
It's pretty nice with that PG.
Oh yeah, that is nice. The rest of the G Zone kind of matters, not as much. Like for example, Young Raptor, which like I used exactly once to like pull a win out of my pocket.
This card's good. I mean, if gauging from drop means that you get to gauge a lot of stuff for free that you otherwise wouldn't get to.
Yes. So,
I think that's like pretty valuable, and it kind of just turns like any random units into restanders. But
yeah,
if they don't have power on their own, you might be still struggling.
Right. This was made to work with Anger Blader, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that the first skill feeds the second skill is nice. And then this is the new one we got in clan selection. And I see a lot of people using this as like what the deck is aiming for instead of Neburos.
Yeah, this card is super good. It basically makes all of your units, giving them power makes them pretty scary. You have a lot of them because you have Excel. And then they get to all restand and attack again because screw you.
Yeah.
It does cost a lot of soul, though. So usually you get to do this exactly once. So if you think you got it, you can go for it. Or you can go Neburos and hold off for a bit.
Yeah. Neburos is very good if you have less of a board and are able to get the gauges to cover it. Because then it allows you to get more hands to survive the next turn. But if you're just off to a great start and think you can close out the game right there, this can do that real good.
Yeah, You don't need to play 2 of this, again, because, like, you're going to run out of soul, more than likely.
Yeah, probably. I'm not really sure what else you would put in, though.
Yeah, so the Tachikaze zone after this point is kind of middling. At least the cards are pretty interchangeable. You could play, like, I believe you have Gaia Dynast, who can, like, eat a column, but it's non-targeted.
Yeah.
Or at least not targeting your opponent's stuff, so you can eat things that have, like, that are annoying and have resist by eating your own unit, basically.
Yeah.
And then the next one... Right. Also. Yep. And then for a counterblast, you get to call them back, and they get a little power. And it also countercharges, so it actually ends up pretty cheap. The other card that's pretty important is Gaia Dynast.
Devastate, you mean?
Or Devastate, sorry.
They all start with D.
There are so many.
So annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. So yeah, Gaia Devastate is one of those weird cards that they printed to hose out Link Joker, where it just eats a bunch of circles. And so this is how you pretty much get out from under that shenanigans. And it also gets crit, drive, power, and retires a bunch of stuff along the way.
Which is like, okay, fine. But like, it almost never comes up. It usually ends up being flip fodder.
Yep.
I think in a world where like Link Joker becomes good again, like this comes in handy. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, you will not go into this.
True.
So that's cool. The GB8's in here for like, again, games should not be going this long.
It's pretty funny when they do.
Yeah.
Basically, so it says when it's retired. It doesn't really say the reason that it's retired. So you can start getting a whole bunch of power just by playing over a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is pretty gross, actually. It also has the engorge ability for reasons unknown. It's just kind of slapped on there, but it still works with the second ability.
Definitely.
I don't try to use this card. I don't even play it sometimes. Sometimes I'll put in Dogma instead, the OG Dogma.
Yeah, so you can like drop Raptor and drop the GB8 for 2 Dogma.
Yeah, you could also like drop the GB8 in one of the new guys. There's like a lot of different directions you can go there.
Yeah.
And and then the G guards are pretty standard. Trying to think of the G guards you might care. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is like mostly flip fodder. Dimorph Phalanx is just if you have less or equal rear guards, it gets shields, which fine. This is a big deal. Bullish Primer, when he flips something face up, a G Guardian, and then you get 5k shield for every open circle. So because this is an Excel deck that if you go first, you can get an extra Excel circle, this can then balloon to a very big shield with minimal effort.
Yeah, honestly, this thing's like 35 or 40k most of the time.
Yeah. Just be careful against Narukami, who then capitalizes against open circles. Learn that lesson the hard way.
Oof. Yeah, that matchup is difficult.
Yeah. There's Blockade Genga, which you can kill something for him to get 10k, and then pick 2 rear guards, and then they get, when they retired in any way, shape, or form, return them to your hand. So this usually turns into this, where you can kill any number of rear guards to give them 10k for each one, and then if they engage on it, draw a card. So you'll usually go like, all right, Blockade Genga, kill something, pick these 2. And then if you have another heal, Regal Greater, kill those 2, he gets 20k shield, and then they bounce back to my hand.
And you draw 2.
Yeah, if they have gauge on them.
Oh yeah, if they have gauges, yeah. All the G guards are, I think, pretty good, minus the first G guard they got, the 20k one.
Yeah, this was just in a time where they were like, G guards, this is an interesting concept. We have to be very careful.
I will say, I still play this card to this day.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I think the only other card that's not here is Dismal, but Dismal's kind of expensive.
It is. I didn't include Dismal just for the cost. If you can afford a Dismal, go get a Dismal.
Yeah. It's good to have one laying around. I just swap it between all my decks, really.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm pretty lazy about owning multiple Dismals just because I don't want.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dismal, which I think you might have seen in one of the other Vita Premium episodes, but it keeps a rear guard from dying for the rest of that turn by battle or anything.
Yep. And there are a lot of different directions to go in Tachi's. Just as long as you have like the Savage Shooter into Spino, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Pretty much. For now, Spino Driver is just the thing you want to ride in Premium. There's not really a better way to do it. Unless they somehow give the original Gaia, like the one from G-Era, an Excel Circle, maybe.
God, that card's sick.
I know, right? So yeah, tell us what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll have the deck logs for these in the description if you want to go check them out. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.